Are live. See Ryan the Gamer's in the house. Josh, Connor, and Ryan the Gamer. That looks like about it. Just in time prepping. Put a link up there for everybody because we were trying to get one of our guys set up here. How are you guys doing tonight? Let's see what kind of lag we got going.
Yeah, the internet's kind of been ugly today.
It has. The last couple of times I've streamed, it's been like a 20-second lag. Usually it hasn't been that bad, but lately it's been pretty bad.
Yeah, it's been real bad in my town, too. I don't know what the heck. But I live in a small town. We don't really have great internet anyways.
Wondering where the heck are. Hey, Kyle, how you doing? Good to see you. Deer Creek Homesteading's in the house, you guys. Make sure you're meeting up with that guy if you haven't, okay? We're going to talk about social media tonight and society and SHTF. Kind of want the side chat to kind of chime in tonight on this one. So if you have anything to say to us, make sure you put that in capital letters because for some reason I have a cold or something going on in my eyeballs and they're kind of hurting today. So if you guys are going to say anything in the side chat, we'd appreciate it if you put it in capital letters. Tibor 101, how you doing? Good to see you. Hey, we got Gotta Love Carpet Pythons. Everybody knows Gay, right? How you doing, Gay? Good to see you. Corsair Trainer.
Hey, Steve.
My echo box. I should have it. Insight Freedom. Alana's coming in here. Hey, Alana, how you doing? Hey, K-Babe. So while you guys are coming in here, make sure that if you have a question or a comment for us, put it in capital letters. I have something going on with my eyes, allergies or a cold or something. Oh, Ryan Murphy came in the room. Hey, how you doing, Ryan? Good to see you. Thanks for that super chat, my friend. I appreciate it. Where are your wheels taking you? He's a truck driver, you guys. He's the guy that keeps us going. So, because my eyes hurt, I'm just going to let one of you guys lead this off because I'm going to rest my eyes for a minute. All that texting.
Okay, really so who wants to take the bet if Will starts snoring on us?
I'm not going to start snoring. I'm going to moderate.
Hey, Uncle Al.
We're going to, I'll tell you what, we're not going to pick on Gil yet. We're going to pick on Anthony first.
All right. Where you want to start off? Just have me go?
Yeah, let's start with what do you think, how we should handle social media
Set the tone for us, Anthony. Set the tone for us.
And post SHTF. All
right. Well, right now, I think we can all agree that social media is probably one of the worst things that's ever happened to people. It's great because it allows you to stay in contact with people all over the country without actually having to pick up the phone. But it's to the point now where newer generations, especially, are becoming so dependent on it, they can't function in their daily life without it. And that's going to hurt, especially in a SHTF scenario or a grid down scenario, because you have a whole bunch of people out there that do not know how to basically communicate without a keyboard in front of them. So unfortunately, it's one of those things where I don't want to go there, but I'm going to go ahead and start off since I got to set the tone. People like to say things behind a keyboard they wouldn't actually say to your face. So if we go to a point where we don't actually have the internet or the capabilities of having a social media platform where the internet goes back to the way it was 15 years ago and it's just information only, we're going to come across to a point where people aren't going to know how to socialize in a respectful manner between different generations. And I think that's kind of one of the things I really wanted to hit here when we were talking about social media and SHTF. You have to know how to read people. You have to know how to start a conversation, keep it polite, keep it inquisitive, whatever you want to say. But that's one of those things that a lot of people aren't really sure about in a younger generation, I can speak for my little sister-in-law and nephew and niece. They're kind of lost in the sauce when it comes to real-world reading people because they don't get a chance to do it because they stay in the room all the time. So I'd like to hear somebody else's input now.
Yeah, Alana's saying that if it was the end of if we're in SHTF, would social media even exist?
In a lot of scenarios, yeah, social media just cut off. And I think that's what Anthony was getting at is you have all these people that are used to just communicating on the keyboard, typing away, and stuff like that. And suddenly they're cut off, and now they can't get their fix of, the newest, thing to look at, squirrel, and stuff like, so they're going to be that. And then they don't know how to, like, communicate and develop rapport with people, and they only have all these virtual friends, and they're just kind of these loners that hang around to themselves. And how in the heck are those people going to get along and learn how to come together in groups and, like, here's your task, please get at it, sort of thing, and work together to ensure the safety of everyone. Now, the other side, though, is we could have a slow collapse, like financial collapse, like Anthony knows a lot about the finance systems. Mm-hmm. And, that starts spiraling down like Venezuela. That'll be interesting because you'll have the government start to get in because they're going to start, like, controlling the stories and the narratives get out like we see Venezuela doing, blocking reporters and all that, and then manipulating what you're actually getting for information. There's going to be disinformation all over the place if you think about it. And so it'll be real hard to know what's really going on. I'd rather turn to my ham radio than actually pay attention to a lot of stuff on, social media. Of course, I'm a complete, Luddite when it comes to social media, but there you go.
Well, to jump, to piggyback back off of each of your guys' talks, I think it's, Anthony, you hit the nail on the head. Like, the internet is one of the few places where people feel as though they can be anonymous. And when you rewind, you, Reed and myself, we're kind of that tweener group where we're not really Gen Z, Gen X, we're not really millennials. We've been able to experience, like, the analog world, but we've also seen the digital world grow. And when you rewind, like, 10 years ago, when social media was new, when MySpace was new, Facebook wasn't around, like, you could absolutely be totally anonymous, you could be totally fake, and it was just kind of that thing. But it's evolved into this kind of not so anonymous anonymity, because we all have, not we all, but, like, there's so many people that have their Facebooks that just blast their daily lives up onto the web, but at the same time they think that they can be a troll, and we can clearly see that is carrying over into the social conform of society, because, like, when you go into a city or a larger suburb, not necessarily a lot about the small country towns, because I've not really been in a small country town for long times there, but, like, when you go out into major public settings, you can see that disconnect with people, because they're more interested in what's going on in that digital world than they are in the actual physical world, because they're so connected to their devices, they're so connected to their screens. And I think that, I was talking on Steve's coffee chat this morning, and, like, screens are the devil, realistically, I think, because, like, it's going to get people killed. I was driving down the street the other day we're doing like 35, 40 miles an hour, and, like, some dude, it was my age, or older, just walked out into the road. It wasn't even a crosswalk. He just literally walked out, didn't look left or right, just, chimped down to his phone. And there was like 3 or 4 of us that had to slam on our brakes and swerve around him, blare our horns. And he looked up at us and gave us like that, like, what the hell are you in my way for? And then he realized, like, oh shit, I'm sorry. Oh wow, I'm about to get hit by a bunch of cars because I'm not paying attention. And I think that's the thing that really scares me, is that people have disconnected from the real world to try to live this storybook existence that we portray and personify on the internet. We see these, you see these just glamour pictures of this and that, and we like to think that we can retreat to the digital world there to to uplift ourselves, then it's really just poison and toxin right there.
Yeah, I think if you think about it, Gil, our Camp Patton up there, him and I probably remember the days when we didn't have social media. We didn't even have cell phones. Those were the days where you learned to actually communicate with each other and could work through your problems much easier. But nowadays, we have been a spoiled society. I mean, they push it down your throat. It's almost like they want you to be disconnected.
Yeah. When I even remember back when our phone number, the first phone number I remember when I was, real young, the number you would ask for was Academy 8 9563. So it was a really, they did the AC for, which would be 228. So it was Academy 8. But the first time I got a cell phone myself was, as someone else was saying over here in the side chat here, was because of my job. When I went to work for Homeland Security, I had to get a cell phone. And I got one of those little simple little Nokia 3303s or 3304s, whatever the heck they were. And, I didn't do texting on it. All I did was, for calling, to keep track of, be able to communicate with my team. But also, as far as social media went, prior to my going there, I just started to get onto Facebook and stuff. And when I went to work for Homeland Security, bam, the hammer came down. No social media. So since 2002, I have been, until I retired last year, I've been off social media myself. And it's so funny is, as a scoutmaster, I will take a troop, when I take the troop to scout camp, especially a camp called Wolfboro in California, up in the Sierras. There is no cell service there. There is no Wi-Fi. There is nothing up there. And these scouts get up there, they whip out their phones, and I don't got a signal. Nope, you won't have a signal for the next 7 days. And it's amazing to watch the transformation of them, where they just wind up just putting it away. I got to pull out a bucket here, put them all in here. You're not even going to play games on them. You're here to do scout stuff. And when they go home, the first day or two when they get home, I hear from their parents, it takes them a day or two to realize, my phone's working. I can get on my phone again.
That's a true fact. I remember when I was a leader in the Boy Scouts, my son and I, and we would actually take them places where they couldn't have cell phone service. We would do it on purpose so that they would learn to do all the tasks that they needed to be doing to earn their badges and stuff without the background of social media, make them do the teamwork exercises and stuff. And first thing, man, they would all dig in their backpacks, and they all knew exactly where the cell service started, Oh, hurry up, get the phones out. We're getting in range. And boy, talk about kids being, wow, I got to have it. I foresee us in the future being worse than that. It won't be just kids. It'll be everybody.
Wait till they start implanting chips in your head.
Well, and the thing that kind of scares me is that I'm starting to see that it's not just the young generation that's having the issues that we're talking about in social media. I think, the other generation that's really starting to become the ultimate trolls is the baby boomer generation, because they've all retired.
Oh, yeah.
Or are currently about to retire. And so they're starting to play on their phones because they've got nothing better to do at home, because they forgot how to read books. They forgot how to play the guitar. They forgot, they've gotten, the phone has made people very complacent, and it's made things quote unquote easier, because you can just get on your phone and you can have something show up at your door that day or the next day, 2 days shipping, whatever it is. And it really scares me.
Or you want to go someplace and you don't have to have all these maps out, you just tell your phone where you want to go.
Hey, I still use maps. I'm keeping practice, man.
That's because you're bucking the system.
Yeah, when
I will look up how it says to get there, but I'll map it out. No way am I dying by death by GPS.
Yeah, I always have maps in my car, but I use that MapQuest all the time.
Yeah,
I'm just going to go across town to pick up a table or something I'm buying. and I don't know how to get there, I just MapQuest it and I drive right to them.
Yeah, my wife was got a GPS, but prior to her getting the GPS, I had the big, fat, multi-state Thomas Brothers book in the car, and I had the whole Western United States in there. I can find any back road you wanted to on that map book like that. I grew up learning to use a map book, and
Actually,
none of the kids
question
today
is,
know.
how many people know how to make a map, like to draw it out and like that? I can draw out lots of stuff in my area and where things are, put the landmarks in. Tons of people, they just freeze up when you ask them, "Can you draw me a map to what you're talking about?"
Oh, so your Boy Scouts can if they take the orienteering course, because that's one of the things they got to do. They got to draw out a map for the orienteering course.
Yeah,
That's good. That's good.
that was good. I even went through it with my son. That's pretty good course, actually.
Yeah. The one of the things interesting about it, from my Homeland Security aspect, is we monitor all social media. TSA monitors all social media. FBI, every agency monitors it, and they share, some of the weird ones out there, which, a lot of us are shaking our heads at, why do we got to report this? This is just a normal guy. But there are a few that are out there that do certain things that most of us will never see. And the problem is, those are the ones that the far left wingnuts like to focus in on. And basically, that is where social media is causing a problem to facilitate an HSTF situation. They're getting everybody so jacked up, so ticked off at each other, so agitated that, and it's all fake. It's like this morning on Corsair's live. I typed in there how I like to slam people on Facebook now. May your life in reality, life on Facebook reflect. Okay, I forgot how I said it now. Basically, it's may your life in reality reflect what you post on Facebook. So all the fantasy you're putting out there on Facebook, may your life really become that. And people are usually shut up and, or they just, flip me off and, and an emoji and, leave. But, there's so many people BS what they put on Facebook, and they, fabricate stuff, and other, Twitter and the same thing, all these things. And there's so much misinformation going out there on social media that everybody's taking as gospel. It was on the internet. It's got to be true.
Yeah,
It was on Facebook. It's got to be true.
People are saying things that they wouldn't regularly say it around regular folks.
Right.
Oh, I can get away with it because it's just social media.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it's also, if you think about it, though, you have millions and millions of posts. The data is enormous. One of the problems they constantly face is you have tons of false positives, tons of false negatives, and the ones you're after are lost in the noise.
Mm-hmm.
It's a problem we faced for a long time.
Yeah.
That's why you hear about these people that did something. Well, shoot, how did they fly under the radar? All this stuff was red flags, all these issues. Well, that's why.
Well, if we were to go into like a full shutdown where the finance, like you were telling earlier, Anthony, about the financial grid down type of thing, that comes from one of our other live streams. But if we did that, then it would take down our social media too. Now you got a bunch of people out there running around that don't know anything about what they're doing because they spend their whole life either at work or on their devices doing social media. So then what do you got? You got a bunch of idiots out there thinking that they can play Rambo because they saw it on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I remember last year, I think it was last year, I was sitting at work when I was working at my contracting company, and Facebook and Instagram went down at the same time all day. And we just so happened to be right next to a Christian school. That's where the office was. And all the kids got out of school and they were yelling at each other and actually getting into fights because I mean these are Catholic school kids like getting into fights because they can't get on Facebook and talk about whatever the crap they're about to do. And they're getting upset that they can't post what they're about to do online. And just taking one day, I mean, imagine like if something actually does happen, the first thing they're going to do is they're going to shut down communication. And if that causes people to get into that kind of an uproar just from shutting down a social media thing, imagine what's actually going to happen to the entire country just in the first day.
It's going to be terrible. I mean, that's why we kind of talked about this tonight, because you just have to think about it. They have his program. The government already has his program to be plugged into these things right here, some sort of device, And if we don't have them, then what's it going to do to our brains? They're already programmed us to have it. So if you don't have it, what are you going to do? You're going to start, it's going to be like a drug, you're going to be like,
it's an addiction.
What am I going to do now,
It's definitely an addiction.
Yep.
Now, something's interesting I've noticed is that, my oldest son has Asperger's. He's just barely on the spectrum. He doesn't like to shake hands. He doesn't like to, he doesn't like being touched or touching things and stuff like that. He's very withdrawn, except when he's on one of his games where he can chat on his games. He doesn't do Facebook. He doesn't do Twitter. He doesn't do Instagram. Only thing he does is on his games, he'll talk to the other guys playing on the game. That's the only time we hear him laugh, is when he's talking to the other guys. My youngest son, basically the same thing. He doesn't do Facebook. He doesn't do Instagram or Twitter or those things, but it's the Minecraft or the other games where he communicates with others and does it that way. But I've seen him go and turn it off and not get on his computer for a couple of days. But with both my boys, they don't get the. I'm not going to say the name of the company that puts your on a book, but there's so much fake or improper news being filtered by them on the news feeds that it's already being controlled by their socialistic mindset to try to control things. And that's one of the things we were always just shaking our head at Homeland. It's just like, we got, would have loved to be able to shut Facebook down. There, I said it. But because of the baloney they were putting out and where they were suppressing the true news and putting out the false news.
Yeah.
Well, in a bunch of the stuff that's come out about them, it's come out that they were designing their AI algorithms to increase engagement. Well, one of the things that did engagement is outrage. So whatever got the most clicks and all that, they pushed, and the algorithm is self-reinforced. It was to keep them on YouTube or Twitter and all that stuff for as long as possible, so that site gets this much amount of traffic, because that's how they sell it by their advertisers. So whatever they could do to do that, they did. And that was the side effect. We've got this giant messed up society now.
I heard on one of those. I heard on the news the other day they're trying to split Facebook up. They're saying that they're now not putting out good enough content. That all they're doing is trying to keep their
and the news
people,
and all that honestly got that stuff completely wrong. Splitting up these companies doesn't do anything. If you wanted to absolutely destroy their monopoly, force them to open up their APIs so that another site, like a competitor, could get feeds from Facebook and push their content into Facebook. So it didn't matter if you were on Facebook or these other platforms. You could be on any of these others and have the feeds come share between each other. That's how you destroy their monopoly.
Yeah. There's got to be a way to get them out of there, but those guys are too rich. You can't. Those guys can't. They fined them $5 billion, and that was like a slap on the wrist to the amount of money they bring in, and they make like $5 billion in a couple hours. So finding them $5 billion is like,
well, they're not that rich. I think Facebook's revenue, I don't know, was like 100 and something billion or something. I mean, they're nowhere close to $1 trillion.
no,
Well, just-
but they're enough to $5 billion ain't gonna hurt them.
Think about it. I've had this conversation with Reed before. They're a company that is worth billions of dollars, and they don't produce anything. They don't actually have a product. The whole thing is just so you can talk to other people, and they're worth so many billions of dollars. That should tell you, any conscious, normal thinking person, that should tell you that they're selling something to somebody to be worth as much money as they are. That's why these advertisers are hardcore all about you and find out what you are. I know for a fact I don't even have the Facebook app anymore because I know that they've been tracking me. I turn that thing off. I go into Tractor Supply. I come out. I look on my Facebook news feed, and I got advertisements for Tractor Supply, and I don't even have the app anymore. They're in my GPS, and I even turn that stuff off. Yet they still have it. So it's to the point where it's like they're definitely intermingling, and I know Google is. I'm sure Gil can probably agree with this. They're tracking your card, your credit card, the little chip in there. Not so when you go into the store, but where you spend your money. Google has a location of where you are with your phone all the time.
Yeah.
So if you walk into a certain store more than once in a week, you're going to start seeing advertisements for that in whatever media you happen to be on. And I think that's where it starts getting dangerous in terms of what we're talking about here. And as being, quote unquote preppers, when someone's watching you or they have the capability of doing that, you really can't get away from it these days.
Well, not only do they have the capability, but they have the right to follow you and track you and listen to you because when you install that app or when you log into that app and your phone asks to grant all these different permissions to these companies, allow them to manage your phone calls and your messages, allow them to manage your microphone, allow them to manage your camera, allow them to manage your satellite chip, allow that, you just click yes, 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 yes to get to the end product of being able to open up the program, not realizing that you have surrendered your privacy 100% by installing and agreeing to those permissions.
Anytime you say don't allow, then they will just flip you off. They won't even let you go through the rest of the system to get in. See, I tried that. If you say do not allow, you're out. They won't let you in there at all.
Yeah, I don't even install any apps on my phone. I've installed 0 apps.
I'm like you, Gil. Complete Luddite.
Yeah, I even had to get my one of my nephews to go in there and turn off my GPS on my phone.
I had to go as far as to root my phone so that I could uninstall Facebook because it was hardwire installed in the user interface of the Android on my Samsung. Like I could not delete it. I could turn it off or disable it, but every month or so it turns itself back on and starts doing weird stuff. So I actually had to, break down the programming of the phone so that I could remove those files so that it wouldn't be installed on the device. They make it difficult.
That's what I miss about my old Nokia. It was, there were no apps on it. It was simply just dial, phone and text, and that was it.
Those flip phones were nice, actually.
It wasn't even a flip phone. It was before flip phones.
Yeah, I had a flip phone that was ruggedized and helpful. But one thing I loved about those things was how reliable those phones were. They always worked. How many times have you seen people had their phones crash? And I think, if you had to dial 911 right now,
Mm-hmm. And there aren't that many payphones out there.
Check it. If you were to get arrested, the average person, if they get arrested and they had to go to jail and make their phone call, how are they even going to make that phone call? When was the last time you memorized somebody's telephone number? It's speed dial 6. That's what it is at this point. So
it's not even speed dial. It's just push the button.
Now it's going to be facial recognition. They've already started it, but they're saying they're fighting it. But why would they want to fight it? I mean, that was their bottom line. That was where they wanted to go, They're just telling the people, "Oh, we're going to fight it for you," so they don't do it. But they've been doing it for years already.
Yeah, just go to any casino. Facial recognition in the casinos in Vegas.
Yep. They're really interested in catching those card counters and cheats. They put a lot of money into it.
Yeah, and they share it with all the other casinos too.
Yep. And China, they start finding people social media points.
So if you
they
guys
kind of cater your
we were
thoughts.
gonna, talk about social media and SHTF, the best thing you could do in order for them not to be able to track you would be just to throw your phone away and go bare bones, you know.
Well, the problem with it is that if you carry a phone in your pocket right now, and if you've gone to your bug out location, if you've gone out into the hills, if you've gone to your prepper supply stores, if you've gone to these places, that map of your movements has already been built. You've already built that map.
Well,
yeah.
So
okay,
if you've ever taken
that, though, everyone talks about this. You catch all this data. It's like I mentioned earlier. Spotting what is the answer, you know that's important, but how does whoever's monitoring this know that's important? Now, if you want to look at the other side, if you want to be tip off, you want to do a tip off real quick of something's important, go dark. That is easy to spot. Lack of information suddenly about a person, oh yeah, that sticks out like a sore thumb. And the agencies are real quick about spotting that. But you and still in the mix and all that, you still sending data, all that. How do you know this is interesting data? That's a tough question.
That's true.
Or if you were going to decide to bug out and didn't want anybody to track you, you could just go ahead and get everything that you wanted to get where they know where you're at, and then throw your devices away and then go to a different direction and never use those stores or anything again, because then they wouldn't know where to find you.
One of the interesting things, thinking back here on what someone said about the chip cards and your credit cards and stuff, when they first came out, first thing I did was take a little center punch and disable the chip. And I went for like 15 years without a chip working on me. I was only until after I retired that haven't destroyed the chip in my current card. When I was working for Homeland Security, I actually had my credit card pumped through their system to basically that I could use it, and it would come up classified on the thing. They go, "What's on your phone here?" It's like, "I'm on your credit card. Why can't we see all your information?" Classified.
I can't tell you.
Can't tell you. And several of the stores were really upset that we can't get your information. That's right.
Well, that's the unfortunate side effect of where we are now. It's to the point where every single store has their own loyalty program. That way, they're going to ask you for your phone number when you get in there, or your card that is through the store. That way, they can track what you do personally. And then, obviously, Google has already made it well known that they're going to talk to whoever else that you may be doing business with. So it's just one big way of making a profile on you. I'm sure you can agree with that one, Gil. And it's just one of those things where a lot of people just don't even know. We are so, I don't have a smart TV, and I will not get a smart TV for the sole purpose that they, since it is connected to the internet, they know what you watch. They know how to get you. Mm-hmm. Advertising is a, probably a multi-billion-dollar a year industry to where they can just figure out how to make you open your wallet more. And
now I will tell you. Oh, sorry, Anthony.
Oh, I would say, why would you give them that information if you can keep it? Now, I definitely will agree with Reed on that one when it says you don't want to just go dark. So what you need to do is you need to start thinking of ways to put down maybe some false breadcrumbs, like, hey, just don't put out any details. Still put out stuff. Just don't put out details.
Or slowly cut back, slowly. That way it's not a big instant thing. And after a while, if you cut back slowly on your footprint, all of a sudden it's going to be like you're going to slowly disappear from the system. It's the sudden ones that they jump on.
Well, like one of the other things though, you can go the other direction. Give them too much information. So say you have an Amazon Prime account. Tell people, oh, I got Amazon Prime. I'll order something for you. So you start filling in all these, you start profiling and you look like someone, all these other people, you're buying women's products, you're buying kids' products, you're buying all these other things. Who the heck are you? Give them an information overload and stuff like that. The other thing is, like, I've been wanting to write a computer program to where we share cookies between a lot of people, so that when you're going to all these places and they're trying to track you, you have this huge mix of stuff. So you're hiding in basically a giant crowd. So too hard to figure out pinpoint information about you. The other thing is these databases. Look at all this stuff that you get in the mail all the time that says, your name's spelled wrong, your address is partly wrong. They've got like something crossed all the time. It's all over. These all this databases and all that, they have giant mixes of information about people.
Yeah,
they're just taking the best guess.
I'm getting a lot of stuff from my dad, who died 30 years ago.
Yeah,
and it's like, sorry, he's long gone dead.
Yeah,
they may have the information, but turning it into like what a government would want, active intelligence about a person, to profile a person, all this other stuff, and to uniquely identify a unique person, very difficult. Very, very difficult. They don't have that kind of context capability.
Not only is it difficult, but in this country, at least, it's illegal. It's technically illegal for them to be able to record and track you without warrants or without probable cause of some sort. I've got a buddy that's human intelligence with the Army, and he says that's one of the issues that they face is being able to dance that line of legalities, because they would love to be able to use the tools of Twitter and of Facebook and of this, that, whatever, but until they have a reason to use it, they're not allowed to.
Exactly. But corporations, they're not limited by that. Mm-mm. Corporations have a free reign, and it's like everyone fears the government, everyone fears Homeland Security, everybody fears the FBI. No, you need to fear Google.
Facebook. You need to fear Facebook.
Instagram, all these companies, all the stores and stuff. They're the ones you need to worry about, because they are not held in check by any of the regulations that the government is.
And actually, Gil makes a perfect point about that, because we've seen the information about like the Chinese social credit system. That looks pretty darn scary, right? Mm-hmm. Well, what if Google, Apple and the others team up, and they team up with Visa and MasterCard? And so the only way you can pay is using, Visa Pay, Apple Pay, Google Pay. And then you say something wrong, banned. How do you buy anything? How do you go do things? Can't rent a car, can't fly, can't travel.
Well, PayPal has already started doing that. So
exactly. Yeah. These are the people that are really dangerous, really dangerous to our society.
And the big question is, on the circle of right-wing, left-wing anarchists going around, where are they at? Are they in the center? In the center? No. Are they to the conservative side? No. That's why I call them the far left-wing nuts.
Hey, Ryan the Gamer says that they won't even let him go on social media where he works.
Well, you got to figure that's I know for a fact that two of my really close friends are actually HR managers that do a lot of hiring for a manufacturing company, and that's the first thing they do when they even get your application. They don't even talk to you yet. They go onto your social media and just see who you really are or who you pretend to be. That way,
I don't have any.
But YouTube's it. Even your MySpace profile from 10 years ago, if you had one, they're going to find that and look at it like, oh, okay, well, that's the kind of person this person is. So you got to be really mindful of what you're putting down.
I was such a Luddite. Even though I'm in the computer industry, I never did any of that. I was too busy interested in building circuit boards.
Yeah, it's like, like with me, when I went to Homeland Security, I had to withdraw from all that stuff, because they did not want us on there at all. And believe it or not, one of the things that we did was actually look at federal employees that were chit-chatting about stuff going on. And the biggest offenders were some of the TSA newbies, the ones that haven't been there very long, just, started at TSA. And they'd be out there, oh, yeah, they had a problem with this X-ray at this lane at this airport. And we'd have to go knock on their door and say, you can't talk about that stuff. because that's exactly what terrorists want to know is, all right, what airports are they having problems with?
Yeah.
And so that's the only way we use social media at DHS was to stop them from putting information out that the terrorists could use.
Well, I just watched a documentary on the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, and it talked about how he was able to use Twitter to execute that Khashoggi, that reporter there. It was all based on Twitter information that they were studying and gathering, and they knew where he was going to be, when he was going to be there. They knew this, that, whatever, and it was because of Twitter that the dude got executed. So you have to recognize that, in this country, we're blessed that we have a constitution that protects us, that the government still follows the Constitution as much as they do, but not every other country does that, so there is, I can only imagine the amount of information that Russia and China and Iran are gathering and compiling to be able to profile America so that they can eventually attack America, because they know what we're about. They know what each of our individuals are about. They've been able to program us in a way to where we, conform to the way that we're advertised to, and this, that, or whatever. And so that, that's what scares me the most, is that it's not like this is being exploited. Like, the information that we put out is being exploited on so many different levels by so many large entities that have an interest in taking this country down.
To put information out there that's not correct or true or anything, to get us to turn on each other. They do that on purpose.
Yep.
I'm sure Gil can attest to that. That's probably some of the stuff that they were probably looking for, to make sure that people were kind of safe anyway.
Yeah.
I have Alana said that her and her boyfriend Kevin, they used to go look at stuff on TV that they hated, the shopping stuff. They'd look at the stuff they hated, so that when the TVs and stuff were collecting their data, they weren't collecting the right stuff.
Yeah, just misinformation.
Yeah. Hey, Will, when you did the review of my channel on your spin, you made a comment that I didn't have any social media up there.
Yeah, there's a reason.
That's why.
Well, I have Facebook and stuff, but I have a group that's just in time prepping the other part, the social media part. The only reason I use that for is when my nieces and stuff post stuff, then I can see what they're up to. But I very seldom will go on the regular part. I just keep up with my group for my channel for here,
Yeah, it's one of the things too is on my Facebook. I'm not on there. I go on there every day for about 5 minutes just to see what my relatives are doing. My nieces, my nephews, my cousins and stuff. I would have withdrawn from most of my social media except for my 5-minute check in the morning. And that's how I found out today that one of my friends was transferring to from one location to another location. So I had to call him up and say, hey, good luck in your new location and everything else. We chatted for a little bit on the phone, but I don't post what I'm doing much on Facebook at all. It's been like, especially I don't post like I'm going to Idaho or I'm going back to California because
I've been gone for this many times from this time. Please come rob me.
Yeah. My son wanted me to do that. He wanted someone to come break into the house so he could try out his new 1911.
Not to denigrate Facebook or anything like that too much, but like I deleted my Facebook account a couple of years ago, and I originally thought that it was going to be tough because I was going to lose that connection that I had with my friends and family. But from deleting Facebook, deleting this other, I actually gained a stronger relationship with my family, with my friends, because I was forced to call them. They were forced to call me. They were forced to send me personalized text messages instead of just shotgun blasting the world with what it is they're doing. You know, if you truly care about the people that you want to stay connected with, you're going to do your monthly postcards out, or your monthly text messages out saying this, that, or whatever. You know, you're going to have your little group of phone calls that you make. I think that Facebook has made it that much easier to be disconnected from your social group.
I like what Alana said there in the side chat. Social media isn't evil if you use it right. None of us would know one another without social media.
That's a true fact right there. But like I said, I only book only for my family and stuff. But that's still using it. But I just go check it out.
I use Facebook for my page.
I quit being on there hours and hours a day. I don't know, it's been a couple of years ago, 2 or 3 years now since I kind of broke up with it.
I think the platform that scares me the most is Twitter, realistically, because like every time I go on Twitter, I feel like I've looked at Twitter, or someone's shown me tweets or this, that, whatever. I feel as though that I'm looking at like the bottom 1% of humanity. And
well, you know that Twitter is actually saved in the Library of Congress. So if they save Twitter, they save all your tweets because they want to know whenever a historical event happens they know the context of what was happening at that time. So say like, we'll just, speaking, for happenstance, future president gets impeached. Well, they want to know what led up to it and the social media aspect of it. So they record all the stuff down into Twitter. That way they can look back on the population's general, do you support, do you not support, that kind of thing. Now it's obscured, and we all know that not everybody's on there, but they're going to use whatever you post. So if you are one of those people that likes to post some dirty pictures.
Well, I do have one update for you, Anthony, on that. I went and looked it up after you told me about it last time. They couldn't get the funding to do every tweet like they used to. So now they're selectively archiving. So they're doing it like if something interesting's happening, they're trying to capture tweets around the time frame. So that they're archiving a lot, just not everything anymore. And that changed on January 1 of 2018.
So they probably don't do the dirty pictures anymore.
Hey,
probably not.
Hey guys, how many of you know what the Wayback Machine is?
Oh yeah, that's a good tool. Good tool.
And for those that don't know what Wayback is, you can go and look at any website that has ever been on. It's archived daily. And you can go back, pick a date, pick up a website, pick a date, go back and see what their website looked like.
Well, it's not daily. They're looking for update changes, so they check like the cache values if they've changed. So they're looking for a lot of those on the changes. So, but it catches most changes that happen to websites. It's really handy. But unfortunately, it's not every website. There's some websites it doesn't have. I've run into that before. Actually, I got a off-topic thing for everyone real quick. So here's something for you to think about for SHTF when the grid is down, everything down, right? And say you have people coming by and all that, and they say they're so-and-so from so-and-so, and they knew so-and-so and so-and-so. How are you going to background check these people? Find out that they're kind of truthfully telling you all this stuff. Save old phone books. Get old phone books, old stuff from long ago. Get copies of them, because you can look up to see where addresses are to find out, who lived nearby, who did stuff like that. That's something to think about.
Wow, that'd be a lot of paper.
Yeah.
You just made me think of something. Steve at Corsair Trainers had a video a week or two ago on a device called GoTenna Mesh.
Yeah.
And that when the grid goes down, everything goes down. That will still work and allow you to be able to communicate using your cell phones for short distance. I think it said up to 4 miles. You could send text messages and stuff like that. So that's something people should consider. It's expensive, but that might be something to consider to put into your preps.
Yep, I saw that video. I agree.
Yeah, it looked really neat. I was real glad Steve made that video. One of the other ones I'm looking at myself is there's this software of GMS, GMS phones, the ones you put the SIM cards into that you can travel over the world. There's actually an open version of that network that they've tested, and it's open source to be used in disaster areas. And I've wanted to try to get all the parts to see if I could make it so you could actually have cell phones operating over a limited range over some stuff like that too. I'm still way in the development stage, so for other people, look at Steve's thing. It's far more along than me. I'm still in the initial looking at it stage.
And that's why a ham operation and knowing amateur radio is going to be critically important so that you can communicate, because even if you have a major, infrastructure collapse, there's plenty of people across this planet that have, hardened Faraday protected repeaters up and around and everywhere like that. So you're going to be able to communicate across wide spanses with amateur radio. So if you're not amateur radio now, shame on you. Start studying and go get it.
I got my general.
Walker Outdoors is in here. He's got he can do just about anything. He can teach people or everything. And he's got a channel, but he's been gone for a few months because he started out just getting that first license, and then eventually he has just snowballed into getting the highest license that you can have, and he's pretty good at it.
Corsair just posted that he's actually went ahead and he got the GoTenna, and he's been playing with it, and he says it works good so far.
Are you still in here, Walker? Tell him what your code letter is. KD something. It's your time, Walker, to tell everybody what your call sign is. He probably left.
I'm KF6 DMR.
Yeah, he's KD something.
KF4WCK.
But yeah, he says he talks all around the world with his, and it's not just an antenna that goes straight up. He said he's got one that he just threw a wire over a tree, and he can talk around the world on it.
Yeah. Well, things that most people don't realize on ham radio is that there's a digital version called D-Star, and basically it's digital instead of analog, and instead of using repeaters, they use what are called gateways. And a gateway has two ways to work. It can work as a repeater for rebroadcasting in the area where it's at, or it's internet connected. So you can get on your D-Star radio, access the local gateway, then put in the code for the gateway in Japan, and you're broadcasting over in Japan. And
yeah, he just got his digital. He said the digital receiver thing cost him a bunch of money.
Yeah, it is. It's the D-Star stuff is open source. It's put out by Icon, but there are not many other companies that want to get on it. But as an example, the state of Utah got a Homeland Security grant to completely cover the state with D-Star coverage. Wow. Yeah,
that's cool.
And that was 7 years ago that they had it completely covered.
And then of course there's other digital types though out there, like there's Moto Turbo, Project 25, and some of those others that are used by other agencies and stuff. So to listen in and hear what they're doing, you're going to need to get some stuff that can receive those digital signals.
Yeah. The interesting thing about D-Star too, you can there's an app for that for your I think I'm not sure. I think iPhone has it now, but your what's the other platform?
Android.
Android. The Android platform was the first platform to have the app for D-Star.
Yeah, I think I'm going to try to get my ham license. He's been trying to talk me into it. Mike has for several months now, but
you need to do it, Will.
Probably the best thing to have when if you ever go into an SHTF situation.
Yeah, I'm working on getting mine, and then I'm going to get I want to get the full license all the way up so I can do HF and see the world.
Yes,
that's what he can do. He can give tests. He can go somewhere and give a test, or He can do just about anything. He said he's gone that far up the flagpole.
All right. There are basically 3 licenses. There's technician, general, and extra. None of them
got the extra.
He's extra. None of them require Morse code anymore.
Learning Morse code's good.
Yeah, no, it is. But they also have now for your laptop to plug into your radio, where you can just type and it'll send Morse code and it'll receive it and put it on the screen.
Oh, cute.
But you can also look up the pool of questions for the ham radio license, and you can go through and you can just, and you can take, show you show you all the questions, what the correct answer is. But there's say there's 35 questions for the technician. The pool is like 180 or 200 questions, and they, so you don't know which 30 or 35 of those 200 questions they're going to use. But it's really easy to get it. You just read through it, and when you see the test, you can, it helps you take the test. That's the quick way of doing it. There's a program out there in California, big, and it's going across the United States. Of the Salvation Army is doing it. They do what's called ham cram, and they basically, in one or 2 weekends, help you get your license, and your license is good for 10 years.
He's trying to tell you now, 35 questions for technician, 35 questions for general, and 50 questions for the extra.
Yeah.
Well, and something to consider, guys, is don't do your research online for ham. Go online, find a study guide for free, and print the thing out, because then you actually have the knowledge with you, so that if you can't get access to it, you can still reference your material and know what the heck you're doing without the knowledge that you retained this or whatever. So get hard copies of your study guides, guys.
Yes, exactly.
Well, you can go online and take practice tests.
Yeah, you can do. There's a bunch of companies that do practice tests online.
He said you just test a bunch of times and then go take it.
Yeah, like Dan said, print out the study guide or print out the pool of questions and just read through it. Just keep reading. Don't try to memorize it. Just read through it to familiarize yourself with it. That way, when you see the question, the answer kind of pops out at you. And that's an easy way of getting your ham radio license. Also, just about every major city, and even a lot of smaller cities, like here in Utah, there's, Idaho Falls has a ham radio club. Shelley has a ham radio club. Blackfoot has a ham radio club. These are small cities, and towns. So there's a lot of ham radio around. And when you ham radio club, those guys will help you learn. They'll teach you. They'll show you how to make antennas and everything else. And actually, while I'm harping on this, there's a little secret here that most people don't know. Ham radio is the original social media.
Yeah.
It was the original social media.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I need to finish my stuff off. I need to just go drive up there and do the test. I just got to drive 80 miles, but I got to get up there 1 week and finish it.
Talk on those both Baofangs or whatever they are, those two-way handhelds. You'd be legal to scan all them channels that come on those things too.
There's a lot of stuff. I would just go to the radio frequency reference page and just start looking for the repeaters, and you can go listen in. And then you can learn all the lingo too.
All the lingo is 10-4.
The problem that one of the problems that you're going to run into with your Baofangs is your transmission range. Your antennas are way too small to actually do anything. So if you actually get into ham, you want to go get a 2-meter antenna of some sort, just so that you can actually get your transmissions out there. Learn how to run an antenna up on a weather balloon or up the top of a tree or something like that. Because
that's what Walker does. He threw his up over a tree. Yep. Yeah,
I got a Yaesu, but I also picked up a Baofeng for $99. And to get the power out of the Baofeng, I just have I'm going brain dead here. The amplifier, the signal amplifier, so boosts it from 5 watts, boosts it up to 35 watts.
Nice.
Yeah, and like for me, I went and bought all the radios. I don't have the license yet, but like one of the things I also got from my SHTF kit is a cross frequency repeater. And the Bowfangs, I was happy enough, can actually be programmed to use those just fine.
Yep.
Now here's something that isn't also well known about ham radio. During an emergency, you can use a ham radio without a license to relay emergency information, but only for the fact of saving a life.
The problem with that is if you have a bunch of people that don't understand ham trying to transmit, they are going to block up the frequencies. They are going to lock out certain frequencies, so real information won't be able to be transmitted. So learn how to do it so you don't become a problem.
Exactly.
Because if there's a lot of people that are trying to transmit across the waves, it is going to shut down true emergency communications.
Tibor says when the SHTF happens, he's going to change all the batteries and the repeaters.
Well, a lot of the repeaters, I know the ones up on top of Mount Diablo, which has the biggest footprint in the United the Mount Diablo Amateur Radio Club have solar panels up there, and they just changed out their lead acid batteries to ion lithium batteries. So that they're set up so that when Mount Diablo goes up in flames like it does every 5-6 years, their repeaters will stay up and running.
There's what Walker threw up there. I'll put it up on the screen for you guys.
Yeah, I don't know anything about communications. The only thing I know is make smoke signals.
and your 2 coffee cans and string.
Yeah.
Actually, 2 coffee cans and a barbed wire or a metal wire actually works really well.
Yep.
He says he's talked coast to coast and overseas. Like
actually,
he said,
on a different note on that, good like a green laser work really well over distance for good signaling.
And if you know Morse code on it, you can just
that's where
rattle it off there.
That's where your Morse code comes in. So
yeah, I know a little bit of Morse. That's about it.
Because Morse code was how they, that's telegraph stuff right there. If you can talk on a telegraph with Morse code, you can, this, that, or whatever. So green laser is actually a pretty good idea that I hadn't thought about, Reed.
Yeah, Reed, I'll have to look into that a little more.
Yeah, green lasers are very good. A blue is even better. Your eyes can pick it up really well over a long distance. They're just harder to buy. I've only seen a couple places that sell them that have a good high-powered one, and they're just stupidly expensive. They're like $200 or $300.
They cost $5.
And actually, if you really want to be surreptitious, an infrared laser would really be good. But right now, those are also controlled because they use those for a lot of lasing target stuff.
Yeah.
So what the social media and SHTF will probably be ham radios then, huh?
Don't forget your Army field telephones. Really, really good thing to get a hand on, some of those old ones. Yeah. Those field telephone kits, good stuff.
Hey, actually, your old, you can find old rotary phones, 9-volt battery. You can rewire those so they work one to another. Because when I was working construction 25 years ago, we were putting some 88-inch diameter steel pipe in, and I strung up some phones so they could communicate at the one end of the pipe to the other end with the welders and stuff in between. So, but yeah, you can make a field phone setup really easy with old rotary phones.
I'm gonna have to play with that. The one thing I loved about the old field phones is a bunch of them were sound-powered telephones. You didn't need the batteries.
Yeah, that would be really good.
Yeah, but thanks for the tip on the rotary phones. I'm definitely gonna check that out.
All right, so back to social media.
Yeah, that was sort of like social media, huh?
Well,
I'll let y'all go.
The other thing with social media, the other side of the nasty coin is regular news outlets. In my coordination center for Homeland Security, we had all the major news networks up there. We even had Russia Today and a couple other smaller ones, and there was like a farm one too that we'd have up there for information. And none of the major networks giving us good, reliable information. It's foreign countries that we got the best information on all the time.
Hold on. Was that pixelated for anybody else? Because I didn't catch that.
Yeah, he's in the car again. Go ahead, Gil.
Try it again. Okay. The in the coordination center I worked at, we had like 9 huge TVs on the walls, and we had all the major networks up there: MSNBC, the Counterfeit News Network, One America, Fox.
I always call it the Clinton News Network.
Yeah, well, yeah, Clinton News, Counterfeit News. Anyways, the ones that worked the best were foreign ones, Russia Today, and then there was a farm one that was really good and accurate for a lot of stuff going around the country. But the all the major ones, they were all trying to put a spin on it so they'd become, oh, let's go watch them. They're more interesting.
It's really sad when you have to go watch RT to get a better idea of what the hell is going on.
Exactly.
But I know what you mean, because I've done the same thing. I looked at a lot of the other news and go, interesting.
Yeah, so you imagine the major news networks, which are regulated, do that. What does social media do that's not regulated?
Well, just a prime example of that. When I was in Afghanistan, my mom could never figure out anything that was going on over there because the news stateside would never talk about it. The only way she'd actually get any kind of information was through Al Jazeera. And yeah, it may or may not be correct, but that's the only one that would actually talk about it. That and the BBC. So you kind of got to pay attention also when it comes to social media. What are they allowing you to hear? And what are they going to basically feed to the wolves so it gets carried, just like you were saying earlier in the
knowing which news outlets to listen to is going to be really important, even in social media, because I don't listen to too many of the Main Street ones anymore. I watch them, but I don't really pay attention to what they put out, because it's like Gil says, they spin it to make their stations look good or whatever it is. But I like to listen to the ones from Europe. Some of those news outlets over in Europe, they get it a whole lot closer than the ones right here at home,
Yeah, it's, actually, though, for real-time information, stuff coming out of Twitter and Facebook is real good for, like, a fire's developing in an area and stuff like that.
Non-political stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've wanted to actually write a computer bot to subscribe and watch all sorts of stuff, so when those things pop up, they can give me good intel on my side without having to be a part of them.
Yeah.
Again, that's why ham is going to be important.
Yep.
If you do have infrastructure collapse, because you'll be able to get real-time news with ham radio.
Well, also,
I don't think we'll have too much social media if everything goes to hell in a handbasket. The guys that run the social media sites, they're going to be too worried about covering their own butts to be worried about feeding bullshit to the minions. So you're going to have to rely on like ham radio or some other form of communication. Then you're going to have to rely on Facebook or Twitter or even YouTube. I don't think YouTube will probably be carrying too much either, because all those people that run that stuff have too much money to worry about staying around and feeding it to us minions,
They'll all be locked up in their bunkers.
Yep.
Well, one of the other things good about on the ham side that you should also think about is some radios that do good frequency scanning. So if you start picking up new frequencies getting closer, you can know someone's coming down to visit you long before they show up.
Even a CB radio would be one form of social media for you, because you'll be getting what's going on locally anyway.
Yep. Ham radio will be the backbone of communications if the telecommunication system goes down. That's all the way there is to it. And in fact, that's some of the major premises on a couple of the novels I've written, that how communication goes out, how they get stuff across the United States was on ham radio, how the information got around, how they knew what was going on where.
So you mean they're not going to be putting the one torch or two torches in the bell tower, letting people on horseback ride?
Oh, they still may be doing that locally.
One if by land, two if by sea.
Yeah. Three if by air.
Yeah.
4 if by submarine. No.
Exactly.
Caitlin said she just ordered her a CB radio, a handheld one. So that, either a ham operating system or a CB of some sort. I'd say a ham because you can get the Baofangs, or they have others besides Baofangs, handhelds that you can get that would still get you out far enough to get your information back to you.
CB is really, realistically, CB is only good for, your kind of, like, I use CB whenever I'm off-roading with a group because it works well. You got, up to, if you have a, 4-foot antenna, 3-foot antenna, something like that, you're going to be able to get a couple of miles of range right there. So it's really good for, convoy and caravan type of stuff, and for localized communication. But the problem with CB is that most of the handheld units, they don't have the wattage necessary to be able to transmit far.
That's true, not very far. I'll be a CB would be a local area.
I actually use GMRS radios. I have stuff that's 50 watts. We get some serious good range. We've got a mountain up here. We can really get some range, like 50 to 60 miles. Actually, it's crazy.
Sure, that's because you got point of sight. You got 50, 60 miles of point of sight when you're up high in elevation there. When you get down here in the southeast where there's trees and hills everywhere, you don't have that point of sight unless you're up on the top.
We've got a lot of obstructions in town, and even the GMRS radios, the handheld ones, we got miles out of them in town with all the houses and everything else in here. They've worked amazingly well out here for us.
What wattage were you running on those handhelds?
Handhelds are 8 watts. Car mounts, we have 25 and 50 watts, so you can hit really far. And then for base stations, it's all 50 watts.
I have a question out there. They have a Konex CB with ham bands, and he wants to know if you still require a different antenna to use it.
Well, with your frequencies in your ham, each frequency requires a little bit different sized antenna. You have like your 2 meter, your 440, your 220, your 6 meter, 10 meter, etc. And they take different ones. The 2 meter and the 440 can use the same type antenna because the measurement of the antenna is for the different setups are compatible. Like I have a 2 meter 440 J pole I have on my house. But to use 6 meter, I got to use a different size antenna because the length of the material of the antenna is what has to match the frequency, the wavelength to the frequency. So those have to match. And so depending on what frequencies you're using on that CB that has the ham bands on it, that just maybe the ham bands on it may just be for receiving only. So I used to have one of those when I was a kid. It had 9 channels of CB, that it had like 12 channels, 12 frequencies that were commonly used for ham radio on it. But I couldn't transmit on those at all. All I could do was receive. It's like a scanner.
Yeah, it's like I have a radio like that too. It has AM, FM on it, but it has ham radio bands on it too. But you can't talk, but you can listen. So you can just kind of cruise through there and try to pick up a band and listen on it.
Yeah, I have an old box about yay big. It has the dials on it. It has switches for. There's like on the dial. There's like 8 different bands on there.
Yeah.
And you just flick whichever one you want, and you dial in whatever frequency, and all you can do is listen.
And that is one of the benefits of the older Baofeng radios that you got 5-6 years ago, because they weren't regulated at the time, and you can transmit on frequencies on your little Baofengs that certain ham radios can't even transmit on necessarily.
Well, yeah, I have those and I like them just for that reason.
Which is why they've been policed so hard recently. That's why the Baofengs that you get today are not the same Baofengs that you got 5 years ago, as far as transmittability.
On the flip side of that, you can actually build those kind of radios using something called a software-defined radio and stuff. But don't be abusing anything, because you'll get on the wrong person's radar quick.
Yeah.
And they can track it too.
Keep in mind, everyone, with the ham radio and stuff like that, if it's transmitted, it can be tracked and traced.
Yeah, very good if you got high power on it too.
That's why we play with our CBs. We used to play cat and mouse with our CBs.
Yeah.
When I was a kid.
That'd be great. I don't have all the equipment to do it, but it'd be great if someone could make a video on how to actually triangulate and track a transmitter down.
Oh, there is. It's called the ham radio uses. It's called Fox Hunts.
Yeah, but I'd love to. Some people should make some good videos for an introduction of how to do it.
Yeah, you just get on there and on Facebook and put in Fox Hunts, and it should bring it up. Now, a friend of mine, George Tickner, and some of you older guys may know who George Tickner is. He's one of the founding members of Journey. He's a ham radio guy, and he's also a Mars guy for the Air Force. And because of his Mars status, he said he was able to take one of the original Baofangs and make those adjustments on it so he could broadcast on the FRS and GMRS frequencies for use while he was under the auspices of Mars, or under the auspices of the CERT program under the police department.
Yeah, I've actually, I've got mine programmed. I can use GMRS and FRS on them too. It's a little bit of work, but you can do it.
Yeah.
Yep. They're just not Part 90 compliant. So actually, that whole Part 90, the FCC couldn't have worded that worse. Jeez. Anyway, sorry, ranting about regulations that don't make any sense.
But I don't know what any of that means. So,
yeah, I was thinking the same thing, Anthony.
Well, basically, that's the regulations that the FCC puts out to govern how you can use frequencies and equipment and what you can do with it, and it's all that fun stuff. It's all legalese. It goes over the head of most people.
Yeah, vague. I'll put it. It's contradictory in one place too. Jeez.
Yeah. Yeah, they were trying to use all their legal terms, and they threw a bunch of crap in there that shouldn't have been in there. So yeah, in a SHTF situation, yeah, you're if and when social media goes down, you're going to have a whole bunch of freaked out people that can't communicate. Like Anthony was saying earlier, that Catholic school, they're going, people are just going to be they're going to have withdrawals. They're going to be agitated. They're going to be so frustrated. Their adrenaline levels are going to go up. They're not going to be thinking clearly.
Their endorphins are going to just go crazy.
Yeah, and they're just going to be, yeah.
Actually, I think you're also really good on that point. So, like, one of the things I've often thought is for how things play out. So, if you have something real bad happen, pick your biggest favorite disaster. I don't care what. But something to people's all communications, like they're down, they'll tolerate that for a little bit. But if they don't start getting people that are like the government or others, or people explaining what's going on, panic is just going to spread like a wildfire, and just people are just going to lose it.
Yeah. I mean, we're coming into the solar activity and stuff. all we need to do is get hit by one good EM blast, and you're going to see a lot of power grid go down. You're going to see a lot of, all the cell phones, all the circuitry is going to get fried. And the worst part about a good EM blast is that the transformers that we use in our electrical grid, they're not made in the United States anymore.
Yeah, and those are all purpose built for the application at that specific install.
Yeah,
and it's an 18-month lead time. We get a big solar flare coming down, X10 bigger. Power grid's going down worldwide.
and when the power grid goes down, the internet goes down.
And it ain't coming back.
Yeah.
They estimate if we lost all of the high voltage, and when I say high voltage, we're talking 400,000 volts, stuff like that, those big ones. They have to be shipped in by train. They're enormous, massive ones that handle megawatts of power. If we lost all of them in the U.S., they estimate it'd be down for decades. Just on the manufacturing lead time is so bad.
And that's if the manufacturing plant is able to operate if their power is down as well.
Yeah, with their stuff down, how are they going to build one? How are you going to get one back if it's all gone?
Time to go solar.
Scenario.
Time to go solar.
Well, actually, also think about your solar. So you got everything down, everything's like that. You still got solar panel. You're going to be a target for a long ways. You got to have a good group to secure it. You need strength and numbers to secure your power system. The other side on that is you get a hailstorm that smashes all your panels. What do you do then? You need a plan for that sort of issue. I mean,
it's like what I'm planning to do here at the compound. Right now we're on city water, city sewer, natural gas, and the power grid. We want to put in a well, a backup septic system. We're going to put in solar, wind, helix wind generators, and then propane powered generators. And then we're going to get a 1,000-gallon propane tank for backup if the natural gas system goes out.
Yeah, that's a good plan. One of the things I've been thinking on solar myself is I'd love to have all the solar panels inside a building and use a reflector to bring the light in, so you can keep them protected from hail and stuff. And it also keeps the visibility a lot lower. The only problem is big investment, so I got a ways to go.
One of the things I saw on the solar panels, which was really cool, one guy has his set up so that it tracks the sun, and it tilts and tracks, and he can turn it where it turns upside down.
I love those sets up too.
To protect it from hailstorms and snow and stuff. He gets it where in an angle that it's protected from anything coming at it.
That's a really good plan. I've been looking at some of those too. They're a big investment. I mean, all this stuff when you're talking about really protecting these things, they're a hefty investment, that's for sure. But
with the remote control, it's not that much though.
No, the solar is not much. But
just put your solar panels inside your greenhouse.
Well, I'm saying the controls for the solar panels to operate it is like the cost of another 2 solar panels. It's so the computer controlled and the photo electric controlled one isn't that much expensive for it. But what I really like was the Helix or helicoil wind generator, because it turns really easy on low winds and it doesn't overspeed.
Yeah.
And in the wintertime, you get ice built up. It's because it doesn't overspeed. You don't get ice throws. So it's a lot safer to use. In fact, that's what they're using on some of the buildings now in Chicago, because it doesn't throw ice.
You can actually put your solar panels inside a fiberglass
greenhouse.
Yeah, put them inside your greenhouse.
The light would reflect off the greenhouse enough to charge the panels.
Well, you are going to have a pretty good reduction.
Yeah. But if you have your entire house engineered right, and you cut back, and you don't have the big 52-inch plasma TV sucking all that juice, you really don't need to. You can get by with a lot less electrical than most people think.
Yeah.
if you cut back on stuff.
No, don't
Or
forget about the
super
water wheels
insulated
either.
walls.
The water wheels will also be important.
Yeah.
Water wheels have run mills and for a long time before we had power, and all you have to do is hook up an alternator to your water wheel, and you'll have power that way as well. So
Yeah, that's what Hidden Valley Homestead up in northern Idaho. That's what Scott is doing. He was measuring his stream, and he's going to put in a water wheel generator up there. So, yeah, that's his plan is just to run, since he has water in that flowing year round. That's what he was going to use for his power.
What's his backup if it goes down?
Solar panels.
Okay.
Yeah, you probably should have solar, wind, and hydro if you're going to have a place out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
Well, don't forget batteries.
Yeah.
Battery big issue to deal with.
Oh yeah, that's been a big learning curve for me was batteries. I'm trying to get away from the lead acid batteries to get into some the ion lithium ones and stuff, because they have instead of 500 life cycles for the lead acid, the ion lithium has like 2,000 cycles.
Well, the only thing I don't like about lithium batteries, so I'll talk as an electrical engineer for a minute, is they have all these electronics in them to balance the cells, because they have to control the cells, make certain they're all charged to the same level and all these other things, and they balance them out. So you have all these power electronics embedded inside these cells. Now, some of these systems say they'll go for 5,000 cycles. That may be true of the raw chemistry, but I honestly doubt inside they're using the premium level capacitors, the premium circuits and all that. I don't think the circuit boards are going to survive that long. You can have acid batteries that will last for 2,500 cycles. They have really thick plates. They're like 3/8 of an inch thick. And that's how a lead acid battery lasts so long, is because the plates are so thick. So as every time they charge and recharge, the plates get scored up and a little bit of the material is consumed, and they slowly wear away. The thick plates actually, let them last for long. Now, the other side about a lead acid battery, most people don't realize, you can actually harvest the lead, melt it back down, and rebuild a battery. I'm going to make some videos and show how the whole process is.
Good.
The lithium side is they're so energetic and stuff. I love the idea of lithium because they're sealed. You don't have to water them and stuff like that. But the only thing I don't like is the power electronics, and I do worry that if you drop something, knock something over, they're a huge fire risk. Those are short. They got a ton of energy they're going to dump out at once. So I'd want them outside in like a concrete fire hazard to not burn my whole house down sort of thing. Now, if we go even further, we can go look at a really old battery type called nickel iron. It's an alkaline battery system, and what it does is you have an electrolyte, but it doesn't take part in the chemical reaction. It actually changes oxidation states between the nickel plate and the iron plate. So the oxidation states move back and forth between the two plates versus charged or not charged. Those batteries have a cycle life of almost 20,000 times. These are batteries that will last like 50 years. The only problem is they do not have a very high amperage output. So you have to have a very large number of cells to get high amperage.
Well, it sounds like you brought up the topic for next week, Reed.
Yeah.
All right, we've
C103 brings up a really good point as well, though, when he says, I don't understand why you need all this stuff. Well with a hand pump, fireplace, or a stove for food. The rest of the stuff we've had for the last 100 years or so, absolutely, old school living is going to be key realistically at the end of it all. Get on your horse and get your mail carrier to go out and about. That's a form of communication that worked for a long time for the human existence. And
it probably will be for most people, but there'll be some people that have planned ahead. Those people will probably have a boost on the recovery process.
Yeah, one of the things that actually my wife has relented on and is allowing me to get here in a year or two is actually an old-fashioned wood-burning kitchen stove.
Oh, that'd be cool. Yeah.
And the things that you can find them brand new, they're making them.
Yeah,
It's a comeback to it.
They're spendy.
Yeah, but you know one of those also last you for what 150 years.
More.
Yeah. So I mean, my great grandkids will be using it.
Yep.
I actually subscribe to a channel. Her name is Dirt Patch Heaven, and
nice
she
channel.
totally does that type of stuff. You know, she's teaching people how to dehydrate food on her wood burning range right there and stuff like that. And you know, she's teaching people how to spin fibers on her spinning wheel and things. That's a really fun channel that I enjoy following there because they are absolutely intermingling the old ways with the new ways right there. So,
well, one of the best things to focus on in my mind is, so once you establish a good safe spot, I mean, you start to get a small seed of a society, is to start figuring out ways to rebuild technologies, because that's what's been able to improve our lives so well.
Hey, Dan, what was that channel? Dirt Patch what?
Dirt Patch Heaven.
Okay, here it is. I'm going to go check it out here when we're done.
I think we are done.
Fun channel.
Yep, 9 o'clock.
It's your show.
It's over.
It's over.
Yeah, we were done an hour and a half tonight. That was a pretty good show, actually. We talked about a lot of stuff.
Uncle Al, welcome to the 1840s.
Oh, I was going to ask one thing before we get out of here. What about the DHS and the Onion Network? Do they look into that stuff too?
Well, there's oh, sorry, go ahead.
As far as I know, NSA pays more attention to that than DHS does.
Yeah, I suppose.
The Onion stuff is complicated. It's actually also sponsored by the U.S. government, so they have back channel communications. The guys that write it get grants from the U.S. government to keep improving the software. But the other agencies like the FBI and some of the others work on active ways to defeat it so they can track down like the bad, ugly child porn people and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I was worried about, because I know there's that's where a lot of the pedophiles and stuff go hang out at.
Well, actually, the FBI has been very successful through specialized means to hunt them down, that they're actually moving to a lot of these other networks that are to do that sort of thing. So Tor isn't nearly as much associated with that. But resources are coming into play where they're going after those people over there, too. I mean, you know, they're going to hunt them down no matter what.
You can't be safe anywhere.
Yeah, I have a special tool for pedophiles.
Yeah, I do too.
20 millimeter rifle.
Yep, mine's a 223. Yep. All right, you guys, I think that's it. We had a good evening. I want to thank the panel for keeping it going because my eyes are all messed up tonight. And I want to thank the side chat for showing up and putting up with us. It was a pretty good evening. I really appreciate everybody that came. Does the side chat have anything before I close her up? Give that lag time to hit in.
Alana kind of thinks that if they spy on people for reasons like catching pedophiles, it'd be okay. And that's the type of thing I think from my standpoint, yeah, it's people like that are an eyesore to the human race.
All right, you guys, we're gonna call it quits. Everybody say good night,
everyone.
Night all.
Later.
See you later, guys. Thanks for tuning in.
All right. I'll be gone here in a second. As soon as I hit that red button.